Welcome to the Wisdom of 21 Winning Women and Their Lessons. My name is Reverend Joy Dore, and I'll be your host today. The purpose of this summit is to empower, to inspire, educate women by showcasing the diverse experiences and wisdom of 21 accomplished women who have achieved success in their respective fields. The summit aims to create a platform for collaboration, learning, and networking, fostering a supportive community for women striving for excellence. Lastly, help women embrace their winning moments, regardless of how small or big, towards a successful and fulfilling life. And this time we are looking to empower, excel, embrace, and elevate. In the studio today, I have our amazing Laurie Morse, a master health mentor who makes it fun and effortless for spirit-centered women to increase energy and improve health no matter their age. And once again, I just want to welcome all the audience who are watching and listening, and also thank our coach to be in the house today, as I welcome the coach to tell us who she is, how she earned it, or how she learned it, and, just introduce herself and let us get to know her. So, Coach Laurie, you are welcome.
Thank you so much, Reverend Joy. It's an honor to be here with that kind of an opening. I love what you're doing. It's, women have so much wisdom and so much capacity, and we probably all could agree that it hasn't been welcomed in the world for a long time. So, we need to take the baton, because I think the time is now to do that. And it doesn't, I noticed that it doesn't even matter how small our circle is that we want to have impact, whether it's just our family or however wide it is, it all matters, because it all affects the collective. So anyway, I just had to say that before I ramble on about myself. So, I've been in Chinese medicine for over 30 years, and this was after 10 years in corporate, where it was sucking my soul dry, as maybe some others could relate to. And I didn't know what my purpose and mission in life was, so I started reading books on how to discover that. And, I would do all the exercises, and it came to it unfolded that it was health related, but I didn't know what that meant, so I worked in a health food restaurant, and then I managed health clubs for women, and I was getting closer. And then one of the interesting things is when I was a manager of health clubs, I would get a massage once a month. It was like part of my package, I guess. And the woman who massaged me, she was going to acupuncture school. She was studying Chinese medicine, and I had never heard about it before. I didn't even know what it was. In a Western world, it's more popular now, but back in the when was this? This was like the late 80s. We didn't talk about these kinds of things. Anyway, so I'm driving along the road where I live, and I knew that the acupuncture school, or the Chinese medicine school, was on the right-hand side. And I hear this sort of guided voice in my head. I call it spirit, that still small voice, right? And it said, stop at the Pacific College of Oriental Medicine. And I remember answering the voice back and saying, well, I already know about that, because Linda goes there, and she would tell me all the gossip of the day, who's sleeping with who at the college. And the where it was on the corner, it was as if I didn't turn right away, then I would go all the way down this hill, and I wouldn't be able to get back. It would be difficult to get back. So not that I couldn't have gone another day, but anyway, the point is I turned and I parked, and I'm walking up the stairs, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't even know what I'm going to ask these people. Like, it was my soul leading me, and my mind didn't have the driving, the steering wheel in those moments, like it always does for all of us. It's a practice to keep giving the steering wheel to our higher self. Anyway, I asked the woman if I could see the curriculum of classes, and I sit down and I'm starting to read all the descriptions of all these classes. And I just remember this was the first time this ever happened to me. And it's only ever happened one other time. I could feel my cells dancing. It was like, it was such a message to me that this was something to say yes to, which I did. And I'll never, I'm eternally grateful that I did, because this medicine has taught me so much. And one of the main things it's taught me, there's a lot of things it's taught me, but for our conversation, one of the main things is this idea of our life force, or our chi. I mean, the Chinese use the word chi, but it just is the same thing as life force or nature or spirit or source. And it's everything. Every single particle of life is this life force, but nobody teaches us, especially in our Western culture. I think it's a little different in the Eastern culture, but nobody teaches us how to cultivate energy, how to have a relationship with our life force, how to manage it, how to spend it wisely, let alone master it, right? So that's one of the things that has given me the most joy, is to, teach women how to do that, because it's so important. It's foundational. We have these resources of time and money and energy, and I've learned, at this point in my life, that if I manage my energy well, the other things take care of themselves. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. I like how you said the chi. I have a story on that. When I went to study in the Philippines, my name originally is Chiamaka, which is, my traditional name, right? And
Yes.
when I got to the Philippines, nobody could have pronounced that name. And that
Yeah.
time I wasn't really into being called Joy, because, just coming out of daddy's house, everybody called me my local name. So I decided I'm going to shorten the name, and I call it Chi. So anytime they call me Chi, I tell them, whenever you mention the word Chi, Chi means God. So don't say anything bad with that.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Well, it's funny, not funny. It's so awesome to hear this. I didn't know that about your name. And
Mm-hmm.
it must come from traditional roots, which a lot of,
Yes.
names
Yes.
like this do. People, it doesn't matter what we call the life force, spirit, source, God, energy, nature, it really, universe is a word that people use. It doesn't matter what we call it, but call it we must.
Mm.
That's really the important thing. And
Exactly.
when
And
we do, what I've learned, when we keep our cup full of that life force, the
yes.
byproduct is joy.
Mm. Mm.
Right?
I love that one. And
I
that
bet
is
you do.
joy
Yeah.
in the house. Yeah, because
Yeah.
from the tea, and now that was her. Now it's okay, but why don't I just make it easy for them? Just call me Joy. So, and that is
Yeah.
how the joy came. And since then, Nana started writing it everywhere as a first name. Meanwhile, it used to be like the long name, which is Chimamaka, right? And I
Yeah.
shortened it to Chi and now Joy. So it was really, I love that part. Thank you so much for,
Yes. Yes.
mentioning that. Yes. And, getting to know you the other day and reading some of your works too, and I realized, the spiritual part of what you do, which, like you said, you were led and you went.
Yes.
And that was so powerful, because some people, when they are led, they don't move. And that is what stopped them. When we are
Yeah.
led, when we have this urge and this calling and we follow, you realize how amazing you're going to function in that calling that you heard and you went towards. And,
Yeah.
for 30 years, you've done well. And that is going to bring me to the first question I have for you today. It's a reflecting on your journey, right? What personal experiences or turning points led you to pursue a career as a master health mentor? I know you
Yes.
have told us how you went there, but is it just that alone or other things?
No,
Can
there's
you?
more. Yeah, there's more.
Oh,
But I also want to say, we all have a soul, right? So our souls are always trying to sort of guide us to our in Chinese medicine, they call it the Tao. It just means the flow of life. It means what our soul said it wanted to do coming into these physical forms. But before the leading that my soul whispered to me, turn on the street, I asked questions of my heart. I
Mhm.
remember asking and journaling about what am I supposed to do here and what's my best direction. And so I think that asking and having an inquiry of our heart opens up something in the universe, and then there's a response at some point. And when we started with the question, it's easier to follow. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I just feel like I needed to say that because I have found I have shelves and shelves filled with journals of questions that I have asked the universe, like,
Mhm.
help me get through this. What's the purpose for this? You know what I mean? Like I'm always in this dialogue with the universe by way of questions or inquiries that I hold in my heart, because I have just learned that they're always answered. There's always a response, I guess is the way to say it. So what was the question? The next thing that made me turn a corner?
Yeah, is you've answered it if you ask me, because even before you turn, you already started having this encounter, of asking what next,
Yeah.
and now turning was easy because you were in the search. So it's
Yeah.
something I see, what led you to pursue the master health mentor,
Right,
because
right. Yeah.
you just knew you had more. So I don't know if you have something else to add, but that
I
was the
do. Yeah, I just forgot exactly how you posed the question. So what happened is when I went through menopause, which I just assumed would be an easy journey because I'm healthy and I treated women who were going through menopause so I could see, the situation from as a witness. But it did not go that way for me. It was very hard. And it was oh man, I didn't sleep for 4 months. I had no motivation. I was crying all the time. I mean, it was just, and it wouldn't stop, right? So I couldn't, I had shoulder pain and hip and, which I now know, 20
Mhm.
years later that's just kind of what happens a lot, not for every woman, but it's not uncommon for shoulders and hips to, get weird during the menopausal journey. So I I tried everything. I was doing all the things that I knew to do to sort of like bring myself back into some semblance of balance. Um, and it helped, but it wasn't really hitting the mark. And I remember I was getting these catalogs from UCSD, the University of California, San Diego, here in San Diego, where I live. And one of the like the programs they had was on art and creativity. And
Mhm.
I thought, oh, when I retire, I really want to do that. And, they kept coming, these catalogs, like every 6 months or whatever it was. And, I would look at that every time and drool on the catalog and wish that I could do it. And then after about 4 or 5 times, I thought to myself, well, why don't I do this now? Why would I want to wait? Obviously I want to do this, right? So I signed up for the program. It was a 3-year program. And it taught me, first of all, I tried to draw a teapot when I was in my 20s and it was terrible. And I stuffed it away in my closet shelf and I just announced to myself that I wasn't creative, as I know almost everyone does. We all say, oh, I don't have a creative bone in my body. But what the program taught me is that everyone is creative if we just practice and if we learn the skills
Mhm.
and then we do it over and over. But that is even beside the point. Creativity became a lifeboat for me through menopause. It's like it settled my spirit and it helped me access the healing, the deeper healing that I needed, that my body was trying to get my attention for, that were messages of intelligence, but I didn't know how to perceive them that way. I just wanted it all to go away. And I wanted to get back to my old self, but that's not really how menopause is. you,
Yes,
you don't go,
yes.
you don't go back, you have to go through, right? So anyway, and then what I discovered is that, oh, wow, not between the creativity, because the life force in life is creative by nature. And
Mhm.
since and we are all made up of that life force, it means we
Mhm.
are creative by nature too. It doesn't mean you have to
Mhm.
draw or paint or whatever. We just have to cultivate a relationship with this creative part of ourselves because it's life. and nurture it and dance with it. And if all one does, I mean, not all, but if one loves planting a garden and, giving beautiful colored flowers to neighbors as they walk by, that's creative. How we talk to our teenagers, that's creative. All the things that we're doing are creative already, but becoming consciously aware of that and then dancing with it, there's a healing force that exists in that I have found to be sacred. So to answer your, or come back around to your thing, is it's like, oh, this is a sacred thing, not just a colorful thing. Then I learned that there are 12 divine rays in our physical existence, and each one of those 12 rays, those are light rays, right? They carry divine qualities, and so if I'm wearing a particular color on my body, or I'm painting something on a canvas, it's like our bodies are sacred altars. The canvas is a sacred altar. And then we get to choose what energy we want to alter on our altar. ALTAR is our altar. And we get to alter ALTER energy. Oh, and that's a sacred thing, because we're elevating our energy. We're transforming our energy. We're alchemizing energy that doesn't serve us anymore into energy where we're blossoming and we're coming to fruition for our whole self. Does that make sense?
Yeah, make a lot of sense. Make a lot
Yeah.
of, because even today I did a video there. I love how you call it life force. Like getting the real energy to change the bad one. And now,
Yeah.
getting to know, I just, it makes sense. I'm going to tell you,
Yeah.
it makes more sense. It's kind of deep, and it
Yeah,
takes
it's
the
deep.
spirit to receive what you're saying. Because
Yes.
sometimes our mind is not actually in the level of our spirit, and that is the problem. And the time we connect our soul and our spirit and actually relate with it more than our physical body, or our, what do you call it now, our physical person or personality,
Yes.
we will be better off. It changes a
You
lot
are
of
100% right, Reverend Joy. This is actually one of the things that I do teach, because most of us, especially in the Western world, and especially women, we kind of operate from our neck up in our head, and we're churning. Some people call this the ego mind, right? And that part of ourselves is naturally disconnected from the source of life, right? From our spirit, from our higher presence. But exactly what you said, if we drop into our heart, being in our heart, being in our body, which in our body we have 70 trillion cells. And in all of those cells, there's wisdom, intelligence, there's a blueprint for wholeness and healing. But we don't realize that we cut that off, and we don't, we don't give ourselves access to it by only being in our head. And it takes a conscious choice all day long, every day,
freedom.
to drop into our heart. And the way I look at it in my mind is I take the reins, or the the driver wheel, away from my head, and I give it to my spirit. And my head does not like that. She throws tantrums. She throws more tantrums in the beginning, but now she's like, oh, this is the way it's going now. Okay, I'll just be in the co-pilot seat. I'll be in the passenger side. But
Yes.
the beautiful thing about our heart and our soul is that it includes the mind. So it's not like the
Yes.
mind is going to be tossed out, on the side of the road. It's like, no, it becomes a reciprocal exchange, a
Yes.
co-partnership.
Co-partnership.
Yeah. Yeah.
As you said, co-pilot.
Yeah.
It's not completely out of the driver's seat, because he still have a part to play. But
Exactly.
the main pilot, which is who, taking full responsibility and making sure that everything run right, is that spirit in us that connects
Exactly.
us to that higher power. And as you
Exactly.
said, the here to here cannot give you what that inner being, the soul and the spirit. That's
Yes,
why
you're
when
right.
you write those things down, you say, I want to help you in your spirit, in your soul, and in your body. It does not
Yes.
go the other way around. It's not body
Yes.
spirit, no, it's spirit, soul, and body. Then you get the best version of yourself. So that,
You're so right.
oh my God, I'm learning so much. I'm
Ah,
learning. Coach, thank you for being here. And that is going to take me to the next question for you
okay.
as we
Okay.
keep going.
Yep.
So what basic principles, we love principles, right? Do you
Yes.
emphasize for better health that individuals can easily
Yes.
incorporate into their daily lives?
Yes.
Easily.
Beautiful question. Beautiful question. Well, the number one thing to practice, and the key here is practice, right? Like this is not a light switch that we flip on and then yay, we're good to go. Of course our human mind wants that. It always wants that magic pill, but it is not realistic, and it isn't the journey, right? Yeah. The number one thing is to practice being present,
Mm,
because there's nothing good that our past has to offer us. I mean, I shouldn't say it that way, but mostly our mind drums up the pain and the trauma and the stories and the beliefs that don't serve us from our past, and our mind wants to take up the space of our present moment with all of that stuff, and then we don't have a choice. We operate and we make our decisions, and our actions come from that place. And we already know, if we're anywhere near the second half of life, that doesn't work.
mhm,
So the very first thing is the practice of being present, and also the future. We're worrying about the future, and worry is a misuse of our God-given imagination, right? Like
mm,
why would we spend our life force worrying when we can use our envisioning capacities to set up something that is serving for ourselves and life around us, right? Like we have to get to that point at a conscious level that we're it's like throwing money in a toilet when we worry, right?
mm,
Like I'm just being dramatic when I say that, but it's not untrue, right? But the present moment, the eternal moment of now, carries with it everything a human being would need to thrive, not just survive, but to thrive. And the mind doesn't like that because it doesn't get to be in control. We've already talked about that. But the practice is, and there's a lot of good material on mindfulness where you can learn how to be mindful. You can Right now we can just drop ourselves into our body. This is practical. We can do this anytime.
mhm,
But to give the example, you can drop your awareness into your body. Like if you're sitting on a chair, your butt and the back of your legs are on this chair, and you can just feel that part of yourself. You can squeeze your butt
mhm,
cheeks. You can squeeze and release. This is like a Kegel exercise for women who know, like, to squeeze the flow of urine to stop it and then release. All of that brings our awareness and we get a sensation of dropping into our body. Being
yes.
embodied is vital. We can wiggle our
Mm,
toes and feel our feet on the ground. I mean, all of that
mhm,
is number one. Like this is foundational. We have to operate, we have to think and act and choose our words from the place of being in the present, in our
mm.
presence.
My,
Yeah.
oh my God. I like practice being present. Oh my God. I had to write it because I don't want to miss that.
Yeah. Okay.
Because how many people want to operate like yesterday or tomorrow.
Yes,
But you're
exactly.
here now. What happens with now? Like
Yes.
now. Hmm.
Yes.
Oh my God,
And
I love it.
I would even go so far. This doesn't happen every moment, but there are many moments and it's just a habit to practice being present, right? Just like it's a habit to worry. I've had women tell me all for years, "Oh, I'm just a worrier, it's just who I am. My mom was a worrier, my grandma was you know, but it's like, oh, okay, well, that's just because you're good at worrying because you've practiced it as a habit, but it doesn't mean it's who you really are. It is
Mm-hmm.
not natural to worry. It may be common, but it doesn't mean that it's natural. So it's really important to get right with that in our mind, that that being good at oh, I raised my hand, so we switched. Yeah. Being good at worrying is nothing to be proud of, right? Being good at being present is the thing to be proud of. And it's okay to practice that. In fact, you should. Everybody should. Oh, because what I started to say is that not only is there an ease in the present moment, because most of us are tense and stressed, and we're only tense and stressed because we've thrown ourselves off of our center and out of the present moment. But coming back to the present, there's a sense of relaxation and ease and acceptance. But what I started to say is some of those moments end up feeling magical. And I don't know anybody who doesn't want to touch into magic. And I'm not talking about weird magic. I'm talking about the magic of life, you know?
The magic
Yeah.
of life. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. The magic of, I'm helping you because I love that part. You know, who don't want to have a Disney feeling for children, you know, the magic.
Yes, exactly. And even the Bible says we should be like children, right? And
Yes,
so
yes.
it's we've lost our magic because we've buried ourselves under our past and our worries, right? And but we can come out of there. We can't do it from our mind, because if our mind knew how to do that, she would have done it by now. She does not know how. We have to do it with our spirit, with our higher self, with our soul, with our higher presence. And do you know what? This is so fascinating. 96% of who we are, each of us, is non-physical. Only 4% of who we are these physical heads and hands and, you know, organs and all of that. And yet we place all of our attention on this 4% to the exclusion of this non-physical that has all the goods that we're looking for. It has our relaxation. It has our, you know, it has the ability for us to toss stress, you know, aside. It has the healing medicine. It is a personal medicine to be connected with this non-physical part of ourselves, to invite that energy into us and to fill us so that the chemistry that gets released from our brain is actually healing us, right? I like to see it because we all can visualize a waterfall. I mean, I don't think I've met anyone who doesn't like a waterfall. Like, oh my God, it's just beautiful. Look at that energy and the water and the
Really.
flow and the power and right? It's gorgeous. Our higher self, which is not that far, just a few feet above our head, if we ask it to, will release more and more life force, liquid life, liquid light, right? Through the top of our head like a waterfall and fill us. But we have to call that. We have to summon it and then receive it. And if someone is willing to practice that while present, well, it's hard to practice that while not being present, but the two things together end up being really sort of compounding themselves, then you will be living in a river of light that will guide you, protect you, direct you, give you connections to people in life that are so glorious. I mean, I'm being dramatic when I say that. In the beginning, it isn't really like that, but once you practice it, it becomes glorious. You know what I mean? And admittedly, it is very awkward at first to practice that, because it's like, well, you know, I don't know, is it really there? Do I see it? Do I not see it? It doesn't matter if you see it. All that matters is your intention, because your energy holds the intention, and your energy is what activates the summoning, right?
Yes, yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes, a lot of sense, because even why we're doing this summit for me is that, because from the time personally I lost that glorious feeling, I just want to let you know, I lost that place in my life where I wasn't feeling that gloriousness. I knew something was wrong. I knew I was going to go further into problem, further into lack, further into the life that I don't want to create for myself. But as you said, it took me time to pull myself from there. And that is why we want to help all the women listening to me today. I don't want you to go through 2 years, 3 years in a place that you don't belong to, because
Exactly.
once you start practicing that being present, start practicing loving to have those magical moments, as you said,
Yes.
you will
Yes.
realize that that glory will begin to flow. It doesn't matter what, even as I'm talking to you, there's a presence of God that is here that can shift a life, but you have to say, okay, I'm ready for this shift. I'm ready
Yes.
for this. I'm ready to do this, because you have to literally begin to tell your mind you're not in control here. There's a higher power.
Yes.
And you blowed my mind when you said 96% of our being is spiritual.
Yes.
That is it.
Yeah.
Hey, so you're watching us right here. You need help, and you know you need help, but you don't want to talk to nobody like I did. You know, even I became lonely. I went to a dark place that I just wanted to be left alone, disconnected everybody. That was when I lost the glory. We don't want you to lose the glory. We
Yeah,
have
there's no
our
reason to.
dear Laurie today to help you. And that is why these ladies have taken their time, as you're watching us, to come and help you, because we don't want you to be there. You cannot give your best from that place that you're not present. No. Once you lack that present being that God has called you to live each day, you can imagine talking to you. I'm just like, but wait. A few minutes ago, I made a preaching book for this year. I have a book, I write everything for many years now, but for no reason, a few minutes ago, I made a book. And in that book, the topic that made me get that book and started a new preaching book is this: that God who gave you the next day. That God who led you into the next day. That kind of phrase. And you are here talking about today. Like you have to live in the now. That's what I hear. Like if you,
well, I'm telling, what I'm saying, and you're saying this too, but just to be clear for listeners, is there isn't anything good any place else except for the now. And that's where God is. That's where love is. By the way, light carries love. They cannot be separate. It's the particle and the wave, the yin and the yang, the alpha and the omega, the masculine and the feminine. And so many women are on the planet wanting to do something good for the world because we've been so out of balance with the masculine and the feminine. There's been an abuse of power and abdication of power, and we're seeing the results of it in our world now. If you're a woman who cares about the world, and I don't know any woman who isn't, and you wouldn't be on this summit if you didn't, this is your work, is to fill yourself up so that what comes out of you is an energy that is given to the collective in order for the harmony of the masculine and the feminine, the right and the wrong. It's not really right and wrong, but you know, that there's rightings of the wrongs that have been happening for too long now, and we cannot do it without you. We need all hands on deck. And so your only job is to tend to your own balance, to go to notice, oh, I have a little turmoil here, or I have a stress piece. Those are just messages of intelligence telling from your soul saying, hey, here's some energy. And I believe on a soul level, before we came into this physical form, that our soul said, I will take A, B, and C. And Reverend Joy, you'll take F, G, A, whatever the things are, right?
whatever.
We'll all take our share, and we won't worry about anyone else. We'll just do our part. So this
alphabets,
yes, this trauma piece comes up, or this ancestral lineage piece comes up. Yes, I will love it back to life. I will return it to love. That's our job. I consider that to be my job. And now, because I've gotten so sort of like inspired by it, then it's now become my job to support others to do the same.
Yes. And you don't know how much this blessed me. And I know it's going to bless a lot of women out there, because the time is now. And we have to really
time is now.
live in the now. The time is now. And
there is no rush, but there is no time to waste.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you don't find you now, you might not find you tomorrow. You have to find you now to live when you wake up the next day.
Yes.
Because waking up the next day is actually connected with that same source of life that we're talking about today. Yeah.
That's right.
That's right. Of power.
100%. Yeah. Yes.
So if you don't appreciate him having you here today, you never know what is going to happen.
Yeah. And a lot of people think, oh God, there's so much to tend to. And oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed. Doesn't matter. In your now, if you just ask your heart, what is the next step that you would have me
Mm,
take? Like I
mm,
now talk to my higher self, like she's my best friend. Like I'm sitting
mm.
down to have a glass of wine or a cup of tea with her, and I tell her my situation and I say, I need help with this. And can you show me this? And what's the next best step here? And she does. So that's the kind of relationship you want to have with your higher self, like she's your girlfriend, and do not hold back.
Thank you for this. I'm telling you, thank you for this, Laurie.
Yes.
Thank you. And we are concluded though, because we just, oh my God, thank you for this. You
Yes,
just
you're
give me
welcome.
something to do going
Of
forward.
course.
Ask
Yes.
my she higher being. She, what are we gonna do right now?
That's
I
perfect.
love that.
And you're Reverend Joy, you're giving the attendance a gift, or the gifts, right? The
Yes,
free
yes,
gift. Yes.
that's the next thing I'm gonna ask you now.
Okay.
Like, I was gonna ask you another question before I get to that, but let's just, wrap up the whole interview, because people
Okay.
normally hear a success story that you have for your clients. If you could just like, like in a short, tell us if there's any success story you've had with your client, but also tell us how the people are gonna find you, our
Yes.
audience, and the free gift that we have for
Yes.
them today.
Okay.
That's the last
I'll
one.
make it
Yeah,
short because I know.
sure.
Um, so there's an online Sacred Health Academy, and there's many beautiful women in that. And they, some have been there from the very beginning, which is now like 4 years,
Mm,
5 years. I can't remember. And I could go on until midnight about the things that people have experienced by
yes.
cultivating what we're talking about, by being present and
Mm,
connecting with their higher self and letting that wisdom into their head through their body, right? By
mm,
connecting the two. There are teenagers that have been raised better because of it.
mm,
One teenager who didn't kill himself because his mother was able to be present with him and talk him off the ledge, so to speak. Women who have walked themselves through breast cancer, started businesses, things that are magical, because we've been talking about that word magic. It's like the energy of life when we invite it and um and let ourselves be filled with it. It will not lead anyone astray. But we don't know how to do that because we haven't been taught. And so if you're interested in that, so the gift I have for your listeners is it's called a 5-day energy kickstart, and it's very spiritual, right? So it's
mm,
the 5 pieces. We've talked about a couple of the pieces, but you'll take each piece one day at a time, and it builds on each other, and you'll learn how to ground and connect and be present and use breath and be embodied, and then access what your purpose is. And those 5 things together are our foundation. Even if you're already spiritual, these are the foundational basics that you might have forgotten about or may not be
mhm,
practicing like you maybe did in the beginning. Go
mhm.
back to the basics. And if this is new to you, then start there and you will always be on solid ground. So that's what I have.
Oh my God, this is deep. I'll keep using this word deep. Like, you need this.
Yes.
Everyone watching us right now, you need this, because once you find yourself, as you say, businesses, careers, moms, children, we are going to save a lot of things. You find
Yes.
your purpose. I like that part when you said it. It all starts from there. And that is why we really want to thank you for being in our studio today. Oh my God, you blessed us. And
It's
hey,
my
for
joy.
all the yes, yes, joy in the house. And for
Yeah,
everyone,
there's joy.
for
I love that.
everyone listening to us, don't forget we're going to be live on March 6th, 7th, and 8th for the big event. And you're invited. And we are also letting you know that you can't afford to miss the next interview. So tune in for the next one, because we have amazing 21 accomplished winning women. Come on. This is
Beautiful.
my mind is blown every time I speak to these accomplished women because they know what they're saying and they want to help you. So don't
Yeah.
stay where you are. Let's arise together. Let's collaborate and let's do it for 2024. So once again,
Perfect.
Coach in the house, we are so happy that you said yes and we are doing this. And everybody, we're going to be saying right now, bye-bye.